Hello and welcome to another edition of Joe Ken Around.
Yes.
The last 3 episodes we had on Brother Ben.
Brother Ben.
The eldest was on, and that was a good time. We got to talk a lot about different memories and just a bunch of crazy things. So Ben was in town, and I was glad he got to be in the studio. So Joe.
Yeah.
And Joe.
Yes.
We have another guest today.
We do?
Yep. And his name is also Joe.
Haha. We're going to confuse you.
Also is my first name.
Joe
is
also
my last name.
Also Joe.
My good friend from way back, we started working together years ago and just kind of always kept in touch since.
Really? Wait, how long have you known each other?
Oh, man.
Probably 2016 or 17.
Yeah.
Whenever
I first
20
started
some
working,
years, I was like, wait.
Yeah,
wait,
20, 50 years.
Okay.
But Joe's pretty quiet, and so when I got to know him and found out he's a musician, he's into Superman, comic booky kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And sci-fi.
Yeah, sci-fi, time travel, all kinds of stuff that I love to get into.
The only things that matter.
Yep. The only things that matter. Oh man. But yeah, Joe also has another interest, which I'll let him kind of dive into here in a little bit. And
which Joe are you talking about? There it comes.
Joe Lynch.
I'll be Joe number 2.
Joe number 2.
Joe number 2.
And Joe Everson's Joe number 1. Cool.
Okay.
Joe number 2 has another interest that he and I always enjoyed discussing and laughing about and kind of freaking out a little bit
What
too.
is it? What is it? Is that what we're doing today for
That's
the
what we're
podcast?
doing today. Talking about.
Oh, you didn't tell Joe number 1 what we're talking about?
He may have. I just do a good job of creating anticipation for our listeners.
UFOs.
What?
Joe number 1.
Yes.
How do you feel about UFOs?
How do I feel about them?
Yeah, how do they make you feel?
Every time I think about UFOs, actually, I have a lot of good memories. One
About UFOs?
Yeah, well, sort of. Like I remember some specials coming on, about UFOs, and we were on some trip with, I think, Grandma and Mom, and we had a hotel and the pool and all that, and that was the thing that was on that evening. And so we had pizza, and we're like watching UFOs. Are
UFO
they
documentary
real?
you're talking about?
Yeah. That's when I think the first interest kind of sparked.
Yeah.
And honestly, from there, I mean, just the idea of them are cool. Like, I kind of like talking about it.
Yeah, it's always a
overall
fun conversation.
vibe. That was the overall.
Yeah.
But also a little bit anxious about it. Like, that's kind of freaky too.
Really?
Yeah.
The unknown? Do you have a fear of the unknown?
Yeah. I mean, I think as one of my psychologist teachers in college said that fear is, generally speaking, the fear of the unknown. In other words, it's what you don't know.
Yeah.
I came back with a question and was like, if you're going to the dentist and you really don't like going, aren't you afraid of something you think is probably going to happen? But that's kind of a semantical situation, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you get it. It's like, what could there be and why is that freaky? Like, why? Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to get into this. But before that,
impart your knowledge.
We're going to do that. But I want to hear a little bit more about Joe number 2, Joe Lynch.
Yes.
Joe has some experience in radio.
Yeah. I was in radio from, I'll show my age, 79 to like all through the 80s.
Yeah.
And mostly, top 40 radio. But that was lived in a small town, Clinton, which is about an hour from here.
Yeah.
It was a town of population 8,000, and if you go there today, the population is still 8,000.
Yeah, I have some friends from Clinton.
There's really
That's how they say it to Clinton.
Well, when one is born there, somebody has to die.
That sounds like a Twilight Zone episode.
So when somebody's born, we all meet in the square, and everybody gets a piece of paper. They pull
like a
out
black spot.
Yeah,
Please
but
tell me
if there's
spot.
a black spot on it, then that's the one.
It's like Hunger Games. Who would be chosen?
This is actually really cool. Like that could make a great sci-fi. You just said it, Ken. What was it? The Twilight Zone. Yeah. That would be awesome.
Don't let Bill Gates know. He'll fill it up with dots.
Everyone gets a dot.
Population 2.
Except me.
Yeah, well, the UFO thing kind of came from like, because Joe's into Star Wars, like the original Star Wars stuff too. And so we had something to talk about at work, besides work. And so we enjoyed each other's company because we had similar interests. And
unidentified flying objects.
Well, I would stress the original Star Wars too.
Yeah.
Not the current.
Yeah.
Right.
Not the current like jerky Luke Skywalker discarding the lightsaber over his shoulder after somebody almost died trying to get it back to him, and then at the end he comes and saves the day via a Zoom call.
This is brilliant.
You laugh so hard.
This is brilliant. I think I like Joe number 2.
A Zoom call.
I like his perspective.
Hello, can you hear me? Is this thing on?
Yeah.
Good. So I'm gonna fake like I'm here and fight you
Zoom call.
on a Zoom call. Oh man.
Oh, but I have a story about UFOs. I was gonna tell. Actually, I was talking to my mom and grandma on Mother's Day. They live in Michigan, and just got on a little Facebook video call, and I knew this episode was coming up. And I remember when I was younger, Grandma had told me a UFO story, and so I asked her about it again. Yeah, this is legit. This is just on Sunday. I talked to her about it. I asked her to retell me the story.
Okay.
She said her and Grandpa were driving down the road one day, and a huge big ball of light was like in the sky.
Oh, I think I heard this.
She said it didn't have any noise or anything, and it came down and like went across the road, like pretty much in front of them. They stopped and pulled over, and then it like disappeared into the trees or whatever. So she then called the airport. She said, "Hey, do you know anything about this?
Is there something?"
thing?
Yeah.
And the response she got was, "We can't talk about it with you right now. Thanks, bye." Like they didn't give her anything what for. They didn't give her like, "Oh, where did you see it?" But
Yeah, but even like getting that little bit of I don't want to talk about it is like really telling.
Yeah, that's validation right there.
Yeah,
it's like we know, but we're not going to talk about it.
You're not allowed to talk about it.
There's been a lot of that recently too. I mean, just other stories about people coming out about how they were offered a job and they're, a scientist and now they're talking about it. There's this guy who's a scientist, and then they're like, well, we want you to operate out here and pretty much like in the middle of nowhere stuff, right?
Yep.
You know where this is going, but all those stories though of how they are now able to talk about it a little bit, and I don't know, it blows my mind. So let's get into it, guys.
Well, I want to give Joe,
it's time.
Joe number 2 some time to
let's do it.
Well, I think I can elaborate on it later, but I believe that everything that's kind of coming out now, it's all intentional. It's a preparation for something, what we don't know, but
getting everybody used to it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like a big shock and something else happens.
Yeah, and I've got actually 2 stories.
Oh yeah, let's get into it.
Story time. Get the popcorn going, people. Here we go.
I'll save the better one for number 2. So we'll see. The first one is like my town of 8,000. Like the actual city was
Clinton.
Yeah,
Clinton. Okay.
They call it Clinton with 2 N's.
Wow.
Okay. And being in radio, I always called it Clinton, so I always sounded like I wasn't from there. But they just kind of sneer at you. Don't you mean Clinton, boy?
Wow.
But the first one is we lived at the end of a road. You could go a little bit past where we lived, but it was all gravel. and we were outside of our little 2-block city. So the stars are very clear at night where we lived.
There's not a lot of light pollution.
Yeah, no, not at all. So I was out one night, and, this is early 80s probably. I think it was high school, and just happened to look up, and a cloudless night, and I could see all the stars very clearly, but there was a silent black mass.
No
that
way.
was triangular.
Triangular?
Yes. A triangular solid black mass that you could see, and the only way you could see it is it was blocking the stars.
Oh, okay.
And you could see it was moving very slowly across the sky.
Whoa.
And blocking it, you could follow it as it's blocking the stars. And early 80s, there's no cell phones and cameras or anything.
Right.
So I didn't have a camera, so it's not really, it's one of those things where I was by myself at home.
Yeah.
So who am I going to tell? And everybody's going to.
Yeah.
So I actually went in to try to see if there was a camera in the house, which I don't know how I would capture that at night anyway. But, my first reaction was I got to go try to find some kind of camera, see if my parents had one.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And so I went back out, and by the time I was back out, it was gone.
It was gone.
Yeah.
How long was that period of time?
It seemed like
it's hard when you're excited about it.
Between like 1 and 5 minutes that I stayed out there.
Really? Wow. So how fast was it moving? Was it
it was just slow, very slow.
Did you get a feeling like it was very high up, like super high up and very large, or what are we talking about?
It seemed to me like if I was going to estimate the length of it, it would be like a couple of football fields.
Okay, so we're talking
but that's depending on my estimate of how high up I thought it was.
It's like the Arizona lights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look that one up, Joe.
But there was no light at all on it. The only reason I saw it is it was just blocking out the sky.
Stealth mode.
Yeah.
I mean, so it wasn't a blimp.
And there was no sound.
There was no sound.
Yeah.
And I don't really know of any triangular shaped balloons.
No.
Not in the 80s.
It was triangular shaped black swamp gas.
Oh.
So I'm just
the official government explanation.
Right.
Give me a different name.
If you look up the Arizona UFO lights or whatever.
Yes.
So what happened at that point in time, it's documented. People did have cameras. They were camcorders.
This was what, mid-90s or late?
Yeah. So a little bit more access to consumer technology as far as like video photography and stuff like that. But there was all these lights pop up on the city, over the city, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people that saw it and documented it. So much so that they were asking the governor or the mayor of the town. Was it the governor or the mayor?
It was the governor.
It was the governor of hey, you need to explain to us what it was. Because I think the airbase shut down or something.
Yeah, and then he came out and made fun of it.
Right, he came out and
really irritated everybody.
No way.
Yeah, he came out. He's like, we found out who's responsible, and one of his staff members came out in an alien costume. And then they never said anything about it after the fact.
So that just sounds like a way to really push it back again. These images are crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I know probably some people have messed with things, but the History Channel version, is what I'm looking at. So if, I'm not saying that everything they say is right, but the point of the History Channel.
There's video though of it too.
Oh yeah, you can watch
the lights
video.
popping on and off, and it was also described as a huge triangular shape.
So that's what I'm sure you've already seen this, Joe, too.
And those were slow moving as well.
Look at that. Like, is this what we're talking about? This kind of size, like, thing maybe in the sky?
Like that. Mm-hmm. And but there were no lights. That was the only difference.
Right. It was just, it blacked out the stars as it went by, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Whoa. How did it make you feel at the time?
I was actually, I wasn't scared.
Yeah.
I was, my heart was racing. I was like, I'm seeing a UFO, and then it was like, I can't tell anybody because nobody's here.
Yeah.
Yep. It's that time when you like accidentally, kick the ball and it bounces off of 10 things and swishes in the hoop and you're like, yeah. Oh.
And if I tell it, people are going to just be like, yeah, whatever.
No one will believe and they'll just think,
or even if it did, it doesn't matter because you weren't there.
Right. Exactly. That is intense.
I used to, when I was really young, so because this would have been when I was in Midland, so it would have been pre-2000, maybe even 90s or something like that. Very young, we would go to the library. And and all I would get would be UFO books. That's all I'd
serious?
Get. Yeah, for a very long time. In fact, I even got a talking to from mom and dad where they're like, you should probably get something else. Like, stop filling your head with all these stories.
Oh, yeah. If there was any of those at the little book, the book fairs at school, I would get that.
Yep.
That and Shark Attack books.
Yes. Well, but awesome. I loved the idea of like something that nobody knows anything about, and then like having the idea in my mind that like I could maybe see one day. Or like I could maybe be the first one to.
So you haven't seen one?
I haven't. I had a couple things in my life that are unexplained, but
same.
Something, but I haven't seen a vehicle or like an object or anything. There was one thing that happened, and I had somebody riding with me on the movie shoot. His name was David. He was one of the actors on this film we were doing, and we were coming back from the Airbnb to set, and we were going, and this has less to do about UFO, but there was like a wisp of smoke, like right in the middle as I was driving, like right there. And there was fog and stuff around too, but this was very different and unique. It was just sitting there.
Yeah.
And like, have you ever been driving and like a leaf or something comes and it comes right towards your eyes and then you jerk away because you feel like it's going to hit you? We both had involuntary reactions when it went through us. Like when we drove through it, we both like went shook back and our head went back because it was like you felt like you're gonna hit something.
Whoa.
And I looked at him and he looked at me. He was like, "Did you see that?" I was like, "Yeah." "Did you see that?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I think it was just smoke." He was like, "Yeah, well, what if it was something else?" I was like, "Well, I didn't think about it. It just startled me."
Yeah,
just like this perfectly whisked piece of
just kind of floating there in front, and then you just poof,
vapor.
You didn't speak in any strange languages later or anything.
Like on your head? Did it sit on your head, over your head?
But it felt like it went through us. It felt like it went through the windshield and like hit your eyes. That's how you feel when that happens. And it was just like woof, and I was like, "Oh, what?" And I didn't even know what to say. And he said the same thing. And he said, He said that was a weird like apparition or something, or and
it was your mother.
Oh my goodness!
The ice is broken now.
We can't tell mama jokes because we're brothers.
I was trying. Yeah, we can't.
I can.
Plus my mom listens to this. We'll get in trouble.
Yeah, she's already really, and she might show up like that wisp of smoke.
Yeah,
you know how
that was.
Now, Joseph,
you're in trouble now. But I did have another thing that happened, and this was when I was in Denver. I was working at Denver Game Repair off of Colfax Road. If you people from Denver know about Colfax Road, it's pretty rough. But we were in this old building, and see, this is getting more haunting than anything, which is like not what I want to talk about, but.
Right.
He was talking.
Now you have to, though.
Yeah, now I have to finish the story. But he was saying that the building owner said he would see, people walking around and blah, 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 blah. So, anyways, but I do have something that happened to me, which is unexplained, and I don't have an explanation for it. So we're in a big, like kind of big room for Denver Game Repair, because we'd fix Xboxes and PlayStations and even old Nintendos and all that stuff. And it was me and Jose. Jose was
another
my buddy.
Joe.
Yeah, another Joe.
You just surround yourself with Joes.
Yeah, and he actually passed away from a brain aneurysm pretty suddenly, all of a sudden, maybe within the last 10 years. But it happened to both of us, and we had cameras as well. So I was sitting there, and I felt a tap on my shoulder, and not like a brush or like a fly, but like a hard, kind
intentional
of thing. Like, hey, I'm trying to get you your attention. And I looked over and there's nobody there. Jose's way down there all by himself. And I was
how
like,
fast are you, Jose?
That's exactly what I said. I said,
no
man,
way.
you are fast.
Speedy.
And he's like, what are you talking about? I thought he was messing with me. And he's like, no, I wasn't messing with you. I promise I was over here. I did not believe him. He's like, let's look at the cameras. So we did. We went and looked at the cameras and there's nothing there.
I would
and you
never
can
look
see
at
my
the cameras.
shirt. You can see my shirt move.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you could see it.
Ooh.
You could see it move. Just there wasn't like a dimple or anything.
I'm checking out. No, I'm done with this podcast. Will you promise me UFOs?
Yeah, now we're really freaking you out.
I'm never gonna.
But I never had anything else happen there. But like I remember that distinctly, and whether it was subconsciously and all the things stars lined up, whatever. But I just know it happened. And
something that might make you feel better and not be freaked out is. I wish I could remember which documentary I saw this on, but I've seen so many. But they talk about when you hear voices, like you consider their apparitions or voices.
Yeah.
Somebody was saying that the sound waves of people can get trapped in solid objects, and the right frequencies from another sound can bring those out.
Really?
So it's like a tape recorder.
Oh, okay.
Like in this room, our voices are being captured not only with the microphones but in the solid objects.
Yeah.
And if the right frequencies happen, they can come back out.
Huh.
Whoa.
So a possible explanation for voices.
Yeah. Well, so this is Joe probably knows what I'm talking. Joe number one probably knows what I'm talking about. Do you remember our history teacher in college?
Yes.
We went to
there were two of them.
The young
Yep.
Dr. Jim.
Yep, Jim.
He would because we went to a Christian school, so there was the Christian worldview, which taught the flood and everything, right? But he was saying that pre-flood, that technology, there was a possibility of technology being super, super advanced because of how long people were living. And then, so the knowledge and all that stuff, like imagine what you could learn in 800 years, just one person.
Right.
And, whether or not you were, maybe the last 200, you'd get a little slow with your mind, but, cut that in half. What would you do with 400 years? And so he posed an idea of like, and he used different things of like objects, like there was flight, there was even like rudimentary computers, and that's what made the connection of like how they could store data in a certain way and access it a different way.
Oh,
what if they're able to record sound or something like that?
Yeah.
And then the big question that always came up is like, well, why don't we see any of that evidence now today? And like, especially if like, Noah and his family went on there, why didn't they not reproduce that? And he was like, well, look at it this way. At the time, I think the first iPhone had came out or something. He was like, I know how to use an iPhone, but if everybody else died and I had an iPhone, there's no way I'd be able to reconstruct that.
Right, exactly.
For anybody.
If you were the sole person responsible of carrying on all of technology that exists at this moment,
exactly.
Put that in perspective.
A lot of it would be lost.
I'm going to be honest with you. We'd be back to just sticks.
Yeah,
we would have songs.
Yeah.
We could play a little music, maybe some harmony, and that's all the world's going to get. So.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting.
Hey, but
he was awesome.
There's some techniques that we can talk about. I mean, really quickly about there was some mummified something found in one of the, so you got like this, what they thought was maybe a statue.
Yeah.
But they didn't actually think that there was a mummy inside of it because of the type that it was. And then when they did the scans, they found a mummy in it. And so
an actual person.
Yes, they did DNA testing and everything on it and found bone and like some marrow, I think even, or something like that.
Right.
And what they could not believe, they still don't know how they preserved it.
Right.
And that's what I mean by like the whole tech thing. To this day, if we tried it, we couldn't even do it as well as they did.
Right.
One person said, I think this might have been a shout out here to a Joe Rogan moment, but I think, sorry. Hey, what's up, Joe?
All of his clips are everywhere.
Oh, they're all over the place. But I think
his short clips are more viewed than his actual episodes.
Right. What was I going to say? There was something about it though, with the mummification process that Oh,
you're saying we still don't know how it happened.
Yeah, and the closest thing they have to it that maybe might be true is that there were, if I remember this right, is that there were some monks who kind of figured out how to begin the process of preserving themselves by basically starving themselves, but eating like certain sap from a tree and like stuff like that. So that
like while they're alive, they're self-embalming themselves.
Yes. Living embalming process.
Grief.
That's the closest thing that we have to what they basically found. It was so perfectly done. And he purposely trapped himself in there.
Oh,
like one of those moments. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, you can look that up on your own
crazy.
time, but that's about as deep as I'll go with that.
Yeah. And if you believe the ancient alien stuff, which is,
I was just going to say, we can pull this together.
Bunch of baloney, in my opinion, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that I've watched quite a few of them with entertainment, enjoyment.
No, it's hilarious, especially the one guy with the hair.
Yeah. The aliens guy. It's George something.
Yeah.
Takayama or something like that. Yeah, if you ever seen it,
I need to learn about this.
He's got crazy hair that's straight up, and he talks a very specific way. And then the announcer is like, "Could it be? Could aliens are among us? Could it be? Yeah,
ancient alien theorists.
Yeah, ancient alien theorists believe that, and then they go into the crazy stuff."
All right, so let's tie this together with the UFOs, though. And
so UFOs today have been technically declassified. There are 3 videos out there from the government that say we don't know what this is.
Right.
Now, Elon Musk believes, Elon, he's a close friend.
Right.
Shout out to Elon. Yeah, shout out to Elon.
Joe Rogan, Elon, all our friends. All our friends.
He believes that he says that he has seen no evidence of aliens in the universe. And he said, number one, he said either because they believe, the universe is billions of years old, right? So if you go with that premise, which I don't, but a lot of people do.
Sure.
That there should be tons of aliens everywhere. Like there'd be races like
right.
So he said there's either tons of aliens everywhere or there are none. And he's like equally are terrifying in some way if you think about it. But he said he's seen no evidence of aliens. He's got a little bit of space DNA in his company and stuff like that too. And then I'm losing my train of thought for the last section. What he was going to say. But, so, because then the person asked him in this interview that I saw, well, what about these declassification stuff? He said, well, if it's high-level secretive government stuff and another branch of government saw it, they're not going to tell them what it is.
Right.
So they're just going to say, we don't know. It's UFOs. So like these little tic-tac vehicles that were seen floating over the ocean, going in and out of the ocean too. There was a bunch of them. He said they acted like a flock of birds. And the fighter pilots that actually drove.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
They were flying and driving saw them. But the actual guy, he's been on the record quoting and stating that like we have no idea what they are, and a lot of the categories is there's no sound, there's no propulsion, you don't see smoke or energy coming off
I've
of
seen
them.
These, like,
but they just zip around in a way that like would kill a human if he was inside of it, because they just go 0 to 1,000,000 super fast.
Well, the whole UFO thing goes back in the modern era. It begins with Roswell.
Yes,
and
Roswell.
I've seen every documentary on that. Yeah. But, I mean the witness that nails Roswell as to being something other than a weather balloon, or later when they tried to say it was a classified weather balloon, which is why they lied about it the first time.
Right.
Is the guy who actually went out and collected it.
Yeah.
Which was Major Jesse Marcel.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And in the late 80s, he actually did an interview, and it was on the Unsolved Mysteries program.
Yeah. Yep.
And where he said that the material that they took a picture of him with in the general's office was not what he gathered.
Right. Because that's like aluminum foil kind of stuff, or like kite material and like wood and things like that. Because there's a picture from Roswell, and that's a picture of him holding the supposed material they recovered.
Oh, okay.
But then he went on the records later and said that's not the stuff that I found.
Yeah, and they were saying, you couldn't. They had little I-beams that you couldn't destroy in any way. The foil, you would wrap it up in your hand and squeeze it, and it would go back to its perfectly smooth shape.
Yeah. Yep.
Whoa.
And you couldn't. They would take hammers and sledgehammers to the foil, and
it couldn't
nothing.
Couldn't be destroyed. Yep.
So what do you, Joe, what do you think of this? Of what you are talking
of this
about?
rash.
Of this rash on my left earlobe. No, like what are your thoughts on it then? Is it experimentation that we're doing, or something that we found that we don't understand? Or
I think there's a lot of schools of thought on it, and I don't really land on one specifically.
Right.
But there are some who think it's us from the future.
Yeah.
Like science.
I'll take that one.
Like
time travel's another big thing of ours. Anything time travel.
Like science class from the future. And our archaeologists from the future going back and taking a peek at us.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the alien thing, and we also have the demon possibility.
Right. Yep.
So
that's where it
something
gets scary.
spiritual.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where it gets scary.
Yeah, and
in a way,
as far as the alien thing, I don't think, just my personal opinion, that it would negate anything from Christianity if there were people other places.
Yeah, other created beings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's
because
categories.
According to the Bible, we are specially created. I mean, we are, and it's for us. So, maybe we don't. If there is, maybe we don't need to know about anybody else. But I don't think that negates it.
There's so much we don't know. I mean, like stuff that we'll never know, right? Unless people have different beliefs about all kinds of things, reincarnation, all that kind of stuff. People have different beliefs about that, whatever.
But because we've, especially over the past few years, and it's to the point where you don't really want to believe anything that the government tells you.
Right.
Yeah,
there's a purpose, but there's a purpose behind anything that they talk about that they haven't talked about before.
Yeah,
and there are several of the documentaries I've seen where they're talking about the technology that is our government has technology that would just blow our minds.
Right.
Because when something's finally in the general market, then the military and the government have something that's 50 years beyond that.
Right. And I've heard that too.
And like Project Bluebeam. Have you heard of that?
Yes. You have to remind me though.
Where they can project very realistic things in the sky that just absolutely look real. And you can see it's being used now at big events where, you're at a big event and they can project a whale, flying across the crowd.
Oh, really?
So
they did it at a Panthers game with the panther, I think, jumping down onto the field or something, and
like you can see it in real life.
Yeah,
not just on.
I think I sent you a link to one today.
Oh man.
Okay, I gotta see that again.
You gotta get on Joe Lynch's thread now, because half of our conversation is just links back.
Is it a
forth.
Facebook Messenger thread or what?
No, it's we're on Signal.
Signal, yeah.
Oh, that's much safer.
Yep, because we don't want the government coming after us.
Yeah. Oh, well, let me tell you my other story.
Yeah, I want to hear the other story.
Okay, story number 2.
But before that,
everybody put your what?
The one of the.
Does anybody have to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, that's what I was
about to say. Yep. Bob Lazar is another big one. I love that story about him because when he first came out about saying he worked in Area 51 and he specifically talks about working on alien spacecraft, right?
Yes.
And he talks about, and he draws this little
diagram
object, right?
Of it, an engine or something, right?
Yeah,
some box,
anti-gravity stuff and all this stuff. Well, he's been saying that for years, like in the 80s and the 90s. He first did it anonymously, then he finally came out, but he has all this detailed information. Well, they did another documentary recently, which I forget what it's called, but if you just look up Bob Lazar.
Watch Party.
Yeah, there's so much watch party
Joe
stuff.
too, you're invited.
So if you watch it, they go back, the guy that comes back and talks about it, they go and revisit a bunch of his claims because they declassified thousands of pages of, programs that they have done into UFO investigations.
Don't tell me they found stuff he was actually talking about.
Yes. Specifically, there was a couple things where they said, because he said this back in the 80s or in the 90s or whatever, they had like a handprint security system, which was not known to exist back then. They called bogus on it. Well, then they bring up like photos and real declassified stuff and show it to Bob. And he's like, yes, that's exactly what it was. And he gets vindicated on some of these things. It's really fascinating. I don't know all the details, but it's really fascinating to watch. And disclaimer for all of this, for people, this is all for entertainment purposes.
No disclaimers.
We're not creating a philosophy or a course of action.
Philosophy.
We're not
run away. It's danger. Hide in your basements.
It's just honestly fascinating to study and talk about and all that stuff too. And obviously you can go too far, but anyways, that's
so just speaking of going too far, it's time for story number 2.
Well, and with everything that's happened the past few years, there's a theory now that they're going to use Project Bluebeam to fake an alien invasion.
Oh, right.
Which will, let them have all the power that they want to protect us from the alien
the Star
invasion.
Wars trope, like, give me emergency power.
No way.
Yeah.
Give me emergency power and I'll
have
give
to
it
send
back.
I'll have to send you some of the examples of that blue beam.
If you happen to believe that there is a group of people, Christ followers, that get taken off this planet.
Oh, like the rapture you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you not be able to have an explanation for it if something like that exists?
Aliens came and took us
Aliens
all.
came, yeah. Aliens came and took them. And,
but not only that, like literal, like, it happens and then just let's record some more footage of it with Bluebeam. Like,
Right, yeah.
Or whatever.
You could keep that, you could keep that mindset going in people that are left behind, You've been left behind.
Yeah.
That's an inside joke.
Well, yes. We'll bring that out for another podcast.
One of the first Christian rock songs.
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Oh, yeah. So Joe knows about it.
Yeah, early. Yeah.
Joe has a wealth of musical knowledge.
I'm actually blown away right now.
Yep.
I'm absolutely
he
blown
does.
away.
He has.
Well, the guy that wrote that song also wrote one called UFO.
Oh,
and he was
really?
talking about Jesus coming back.
Oh,
he's an unidentified flying object. He's coming in the skies.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. This is perfect then. I think we've staged everything for
story 2.
We're ready. I'm ready. I want the story.
All right. Okay. Recapping, I'm on the end of the road, and past us just gravel and just woods beyond that. They hadn't actually developed anything past us yet.
Uh-huh. Are you still in Clinton?
Yeah.
Clinton.
Yep.
Yes, I said it right.
Yep.
Okay.
So I wake up one night and there is nothing but light coming in my windows in the middle of the night. I have a window.
Is anyone else with you, by the way?
My parents are in the house.
Okay.
But my room is separate. There's a window to my left, the left of my head, and then to the wall on the right has a window.
Okay.
I wake up.
What?
Nothing, blinding light coming through both of those.
Jeez.
And the house is rumbling.
What?
And I wake up absolutely awake. I mean, I remember this very clearly. Absolutely awake. I wake up and my brain goes, oh, must be a truck. And I just immediately go back to sleep. And I wake up the next morning remembering that, and I thought, there's no truck on this road. Why did I have that reaction? And then, later as I got more into the UFO stuff, I read about the alien abduction stuff.
Yeah.
And so many people said,
they had
like such and such. There were lights coming in my room. I woke up and I looked in the window and there was this owl in my window. And then I just went back to sleep. I just felt, oh, well, and I went back to sleep. Completely unnatural reactions.
Yeah.
and would
so
be
it's like memory replacement.
Yeah, now I'm getting freaked out again.
Amnesia.
And
no, not sleeping.
Like years.
Because mine's going to be a clown. You guys got owls and trucks.
They made a movie on that. I watched one time, and they premised on that. Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind is what they.
Okay.
You know, which is like possession or or something. You know, it gets into the scary stuff. But they premised it on the owl thing too. That, like that was the omen or the memory replacement. I can't remember.
Well,
I just remember when I was
just
watching it. My then girlfriend, who's now my wife, was texting me pictures of owls while we were watching it, freaking me out. Oh.
Yep.
That's
so
crazy.
In
so
mine,
how
it was
old were
just,
you about
that
this time?
was again high school age.
Okay.
And just a completely unnatural reaction, like no curiosity at all, completely irrational explanation that I just immediately thought up and accepted and immediately went back to sleep. Years later, there was somebody I knew that had a connection with a hypnotist.
No way.
And I was like, you know what? They all talk about these regressed memories, so I'm going to go to the hypnotist and see. And
I've never heard this story.
So
this is starting to blow me away even more.
I did. I mean, it wasn't an official thing because I knew him. He just like came over one day and was going to try it. So he came over and he couldn't get me under.
Yeah.
He just wouldn't. I just couldn't go under. I tried.
Yeah.
And he just finally said, "Well," he said, "some people just you don't. There's a wall there. You're not letting."
It's usually people like you and me who are pretty realistic, and some people call it cynical. It's not cynical. It's like realist people who are like, we don't.
And you don't share your inner thoughts a lot.
Right,
and
pretty private and stuff like that too.
Sure.
But I've never actually seen a hypnotist, but I'd be curious too, because you see the stuff when people do the public hypnotist stuff, and I always wondered if that was real.
Yep, we got to do it.
And since then,
we should bring a hypnotist.
Since then I've seen a lot of things where people did get their memories back, and I was like, it's probably good that I didn't go.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like I would be scared every time I went to bed. If I really got it back and something happened.
That's true. Yep.
But that kind of thing. That makes me lean more toward demons when that kind of stuff happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
And speaking of demons, I also think that, when you see people that are talking about seeing loved ones and talking to dead loved ones, I think I'm pretty sure that's demons.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to talk to spirits.
Yeah.
And what better way to get you to do something you're not supposed to do than to present themselves as a loved one.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely something there too when it comes to that.
There's a spiritual side to it, obviously, when people go really deep into it, and that's the other thing too, is that anything that can keep you off the truth is and
a lot of people with UFOs make it their religion.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, they do, and they do that because they think the UFOs or the aliens are going to save us, or they have technology, they've reached utopia, and they're trying to help us and bestow. Whatever. That's the ancient aliens stuff.
I got you. Yeah.
They came back and because they didn't have the technology to build this and that back then. So how did they do it? Well, aliens, came down and
Well, from a psychological perspective, and I've heard like in some of the documentaries, people talking, like psychiatrists and all talking about this, but you have there's a curve here. Like the smarter someone gets. And the smarter someone is, the less empathy they have.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because everybody else is under them. So if there is a species out there that's, thousands of years ahead of us, they don't care about us.
Well, that's kind of true. It's the same way of like us and ants. We don't like look out for the ants. Like we just step on them, or we don't have any like feeling toward them. They're just something that's there. And so if in the same way, there's something so far advanced beyond us where we're just ants or things that don't matter, maybe they're just playing with us. Maybe they're just...
Yeah, and we're the ants.
Maybe they're just bringing the magnifying glass just for fun.
Yeah, yeah. Just powering from another star. They're going to just melt us.
Well, supposedly, I think it was either Truman or Eisenhower who met with aliens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's an interesting story.
Yeah,
not too long after Roswell.
Yeah,
and the story is, and I have my air quotes going. The story is that they met, and it was obvious that we were outmatched, but a deal was struck.
Oh, I did hear this.
Where they were allowed to take people every once in a while and do some tests and bring them back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then they would give us some technology.
Well, I think that Ken was definitely one of them. They got to take it. Have you seen him put a cell phone back together? I mean, he's like flying.
Well, there's another one too that like the footage is out there where they're interviewing the alien.
Yeah,
you seen that one?
Yeah, that one kind of looks like bad CGI.
Yeah, but it was out before CGI, I think. But like they're having a dialogue with him, and you know you can kind of see him in the shadows. It's in a dark.
Isn't
room.
that the one where he says he's from the future?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And then also like he dies or he goes into like some kind of arrest
state. Yeah, like comatose state.
He doesn't live very long or something like that. But there's footage for that too.
Well, the guy who did the fake press release to cover up for Roswell, I can't remember his name right now. He was the public information officer on the base. He made a deathbed confession and signed it, saying that that was all a cover up.
Yeah. Yep.
Goodness.
Joe, so hope you sleep well tonight, Joe, number one.
I'm never going to sleep. I've got my new watch on that tells me my sleep patterns. I'll post it tomorrow.
It'll be flatline.
0. Yeah. Be like, you should go to sleep now.
Go to sleep. Stop thinking about aliens.
And I'll be like, well, my watch is talking to me.
It's really the aliens that are telling you go to sleep so that they can come and get you.
Ah, you had to do that.
It's like Santa Claus.
Man.
It's like an evil Santa Claus.
Oh, Santa Claus.
He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake.
Ken's a fan of Santa Claus.
Yeah, good old Santa Claus. Santa Claus. You remember?
Maybe he's an alien.
Maybe Grandpa Dale would talk about that. That's how he'd say it. Santa Claus.
Oh, Santa Claus come this year?
Yep.
Oh, hello. Oh, hello, Joe. Come on in. Pat you on the head.
Yeah. Oh, Joe.
Okay.
Well, another guy to look up if you're interested is Dr. Stephen Greer.
Yeah.
He's got some good stuff.
Any connection to Greer where we are locally?
No, I don't think so. He was an ER doctor in North Carolina, I believe.
Okay.
He's
got a whole
he's got a couple of documentaries. He's also into suppressed technologies.
Yeah.
Where there was a guy in the early 80s that invented a car that ran off of water.
Right.
And
right.
And then shortly after that, when he was on the news and everything, he died.
Yep.
And then all the technology mysteriously vanished.
Yes.
And there was another guy, there's a documentary out. His last name is Newman, and then the documentary is called Newman. He invented a machine that put more energy out than it required to run it. And they would deny him patents, and he spent every penny he had trying to fight it in courts to get a patent for his machine. And he would bring the machine and show it worked, have everybody come and test it. All the scientists come in and test it, and they're like, we don't know how this is working, but they would not give him a patent. And he basically went insane.
Yep.
So he's still alive, I think. But he's like living alone, and he's just a rambling guy now.
Shut up, everyone is so freaked out. I'm having the time of my life.
I don't want to research anything anymore. Like
it's all
tracked now. The government's gonna come shut me down for spreading this on this podcast.
I think a good Stephen Greer one to watch. I think it's a documentary called "Is It Above Top Secret?"
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's got a lot of the suppressed technology.
Unknowledged.
Oh, wait a minute. No, that's it. Unacknowledged.
Yeah. Okay.
That one's on Amazon, I think.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
An expose.
Expose.
Yeah, of the world's greatest secret.
Yeah. Oh,
there you go.
Yeah. He's under the impression though that if the aliens are coming, that they're our buddies.
Yeah. Yeah, and people that make this their career, again, their religion, it really does turn into that. And how can you not? Because if you thoroughly believe that, like, there are other beings that have knowledge that could drastically change humanity, that's kind of what leads them to where they go in that belief.
So I have a thought.
But you have to look up the newest Bob Lazar one. I don't know the name of it, but it's Bob Lazar something.
A book or
it's a documentary, and it has like his glasses on the cover, kind of a thing, because he has kind of the glasses you're wearing.
Style. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Bob Lazar?
Yeah, Bob Lazar. But he has never changed his story. He's still alive and doing his thing, but he's just kind of like, hey, that's it,
Got him. Yep, with the glasses.
Yep.
Area 51 and ... That's 2018. I think is the most recent one.
Yeah,
I think it was the most recent one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're talking about.
That's the one there. Yep. Really cool to look up.
I think he was talking on another podcast that I was listening to.
Yeah, he's been on a ton of stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's another one where when the government released those Navy videos and stuff like that, there's another guy, he has a little soul patch. He started another group, and another guy is actually
Hector Elizondo.
Yeah, there's another guy with him that's in this group. What's it called? It's like Academy. To the Stars Academy. That's what it's called.
To the Stars Academy.
Some
believe that Hector is a disinformation guy.
Oh, really?
From the agencies.
From the governments to kind of.
Well, so I would think that would make sense.
But wait, the other guy that's on it, it's
Go
just
ahead.
really funny. He's in the band Blink-182. he's one of the guys.
Is it the drummer?
I don't know who it is, but he's like, he either started it or
Tom
something. Yeah. But he's
Tom Selleck?
Tom something. Yeah.
Tom Thumb.
Tom Sawyer.
Hanks.
Yeah.
We could do this all night.
No, I know.
Wait, but I think that would be something to look out for, and that would be when, just like we've noticed about this, and this is the red flag that actually goes up. It's when there's nothing to see here moments happen. I think that, once again, is at least like, we didn't want you to know about that technology or something we found, or that I totally, because you opened up saying, how do you feel about UFOs, Joe?
Yeah.
And that's like a whole world of a statement, like, could be involved.
How does anybody feel about UFOs?
Well, yeah. But like knowing that aspect of it, when there are responses from people, or responses to people,
call to actions.
Exactly. That's when I feel like something legitimate or illegitimate, I guess, is possible.
Yeah.
More so than even Joe 2's experiences. I think they're totally legit. Like, of course, like they are reality to that person when they go through them. It's just I can't like put anything on it. Like, I don't know where to go with it. Whereas when someone says, no, don't look here. Right. That's the trick. That's like, dang it. Like,
now I really want to know.
I'm going to look there. Like yes, you're hiding something.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and I think that's what Joe 2 was saying about like the misinformation stuff. It's like,
yes, that's where
psychological,
that came from. Yes.
Where they're like, oh, you don't want to look into this,
and that's been proven to happen with other things. Like, people have literally been hired. I mean, you name it, anything, lawsuits,
espionage,
political. All of those areas, they literally pay people or scare them to death, literally, to go spread whatever it is, disinformation or whatever it might be, right? Because you've got to have that other version of the story out there.
Another guy to look up would be Phil Schneider.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yep.
What's his
Tell him about
thing?
Phil Schneider.
Phil Schneider.
Ken's like, tell him.
Phil
Schneider.
I'm over here with a big old smile on my face.
He was one of them that worked on
freaking out.
He was an engineer, structural engineer, I think.
Mechanical engineer, maybe?
Something. Yeah, but he was part of dealing with working with the government as a contractor, putting these underground bases together and digging for these underground bases.
Yep. See, there's another one.
So
it's always that stuff.
So, and they encountered problems with their drill, and they sent him and some other like military guys down with him to see what was going on with the drill. And as they lowered there were aliens.
Nope.
There were aliens there,
Subterranean.
and the aliens like had these they shot these beams at him or something, and it sliced him open, and it took like he had his hand across his chest, and it sliced him across his chest and took fingers off.
No way.
At the same time.
No way.
And he said that the military guys saved his life. But,
fighting the subterranean.
Right.
That's
like what about his fingers and everything?
H.G. Wells
Did they
stuff.
put him back on, or
no?
like,
I mean, and this was in the
is he missing
like
fingers?
early 90s, I think, when he was, and he would go around and do talks, and people would be, you're crazy, and he's got, well, there's the fingers burned, and then he would pull his shirt up, and you could see that he was just opened up all the way across, and it was a burn. It was not like a scalpel; it was just, it was pretty gross looking.
Sheesh.
And he died years later, and it was ruled a suicide, although he was strangled by his own catheter hose. His catheter hose had been wrapped around his neck, and he suffocated. And they found him days later, and then they ruled it a suicide, and there was no autopsy done.
No.
See,
I don't want to end up with my catheter around my throat. Why do you make us do this, Ken?
I'm so happy. Oh man. Well, thanks for coming on, Joe Lynch, Joe number 2.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
This has been
thanks for freaking me out.
This has been an episode in the works for a while. Just one of those conversations. Joe and I have all kinds of conversations, but this is just one of them that we find fascinating. And
time travel is one of our favorites. Yeah,
we need to do one on time travel. But what do you guys think about UFOs?
That's what I was going to say. Send them in, man.
I want to hear responses.
Yes.
I want to hear
personal experiences, things you know.
Yep. I tried also. There's another person. I'm not going to say names or anything because this person ultimately.
And the government will come after them and put a
to
catheter hose around them.
But there's a friend of a friend of a friend, basically, who had an experience, and I asked them if they'd like to call in, but they declined because they. Again, like what Joe said, like, who am I going to tell?
Yeah.
But what are people going to think about me when I, tell these stories or whatever? So there's people out there that maybe have had experiences, maybe not. Maybe you've seen something, heard something.
Right into
P.O. Box, JOKEN. But no, this has been
How should
fun.
they do it? Just send it into Facebook on our Facebook
find
page?
us on Facebook, Joking Around Podcast. Facebook.com/JokenAround Podcast. It's JOKEN.
Yep. JOKEN.
JOKEN, Around Podcast.
I think we should end this one with our usual intro, kind of, but let's go ahead and include Joe number 2. How's it
gonna be? I ain't even gonna say that.
I'm Joe,
and I'm Joe number 2,
and I'm Ken,
and together we're
Joe
number 2,
Ken around.